Welcome to the Hired Not Fired podcast, brought to you by The Real Me, the soft skills first talent solution that helps employers hire entry-level employees with better developed soft skills, such as communication, problem solving, or emotional intelligence. Join us as we sit down with hiring managers, talent leaders, and others and get insider tips to help Gen Z stand out and get hired. Let's dive in. Welcome back. And we have Matt Wisner from Walmart here to continue our conversation about working in retail for this retail giant and how their skills first hiring has really been a mover in their talent pipeline. So in this episode, Matt, I'd love to ask you about your internship program. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, we have a large internship program. And as folks may know, may not know, Walmart's based in Bentonville, Arkansas. And so a lot of our interns end up residing here during their internship, so they get to experience the area. I didn't have much experience with the area prior to working at Walmart, so I think that's helpful to understand. And whatever perceptions I had before were, I don't know, it was exceeded my expectations. And so I think that's helpful for interns to understand, like, if it's someplace they might end up working for a long period of time or growing a career, experiencing that whole, not just the place you're working, but what's where is it? Where might I live? Who might I build a community with outside of work is important. So worth calling that out. With that said, we also host a material amount of interns also in Sunnyvale, which is where we have a lot of our technologists. And so we also host some intern positions there. In terms of types of positions, several different kind of functional areas, but there's a large concentration in software engineering, or people first kind of tech-powered companies are the kind of the mantra here. And so that's really a big part and emphasis there. We have a pretty big emphasis on merchants. And so the merchant role, and in the case of merchant and also finance roles, we also hire MBAs. And with both of those functional areas, we have multi-year rotations. So they'll get to kind of rotate through different work areas within that domain.
Can I ask about the merchant roles? Do you also have entry-level, non-MBA merchant positions?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
what might those be like for people who aren't familiar with that?
So merchant would be, I think it's a unique role to retail. I don't think it's necessarily a unique role to Walmart. They might be called slightly different things at other retail companies, but essentially looking at the product selection, inventory, what might delight our customers, what do they want, what do they need, and how to make everyday low cost is a big principle for Walmart, and how to achieve that with the vendors that we're potentially delivering those products to our customers from, and negotiating that in favor of making sure it's at the lowest cost possible for our customers. So they're involved in all of that. And potentially some of those roles, especially as they evolve, can get global. And you'll be dealing with global vendors and things like that. So very interesting role. And the other thing I would mention about it, I think a good platform, understanding that and developing in the merchant role, from my observation so far at the company, it seems like a great path to leadership as you understand kind of the core operations, including a lot of interaction engagement with the field operations.
Would you say that what percentage of your interns are in person? Do you have any remote internship positions?
Nearly 100% in person. So no remote positions. I think we did have that, of course, during the pandemic, but now we have gotten back into the office and in between the two locations I mentioned in the case of the US. Worth mentioning too, we do have a material amount of internships in India. Those are primarily technologist software engineering roles.
Okay. And what percentage of your interns get offered full-time roles? Is this a significant pipeline for you?
Yes. I forget the exact percentage off the top of my head, but I would say that, so you go through your internship period, and for all interns that are successfully completing a project and have the kind of evaluation period and clear that evaluation period, the intent is always to convert to full time. And so we're committed to that. It is a pipeline into those early full time roles, and it's pretty much the exclusive pipeline. So the early career program, where I think in the other cases you'll have maybe a mix of like intern, and then you'll hire some people maybe 0 to 3 years experience or fresh out of like a campus. We're pretty not exclusively, but pretty weighted in the internship. And so the development, we say it often like Walmart's an academy for talent. We like to develop and grow people. And so that's a part of it.
Well, that's great. Now, I imagine you get a lot of applications for internship positions. And like we said, these early career folks don't have a lot to put on their resumes. How do you determine who to bring in for an interview or not?
Yeah, I think there's anything you can do to differentiate is valuable. And we kind of talked about it in the last conversation, but in the case, for example, I'd say all roles, honestly, but generative AI is upon us. You should be curious about that. You should be thinking about how it might apply, and you can do your roles better. And I think everyone's in this kind of exploratory phase of it, in my observation, and that's just a core principle that I think is valuable that translate like, hey, I got curious about this. I did this in the school project. It was a practical use and maybe a novel use of it, and it seems relatable to the job I'm now applying for. That would be awesome to see on a resume. And so that's maybe one suggestion. But outside of that, honestly, like even certifications that seem relevant to the role you're applying to. And it usually goes back to just like, hey, this person's going above and beyond, or they're innately curious about this space and they've done these demonstrations, whether it's a certification or a project, that can be helpful.
Great. Do you have any funny stories of whether from the internships or from applications or something to share? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
Enough. I have funny stories. I will say, actually, this evening we have our annual. So this happens every year. And again, I mentioned the last conversation, but I'm a year into Walmart, so I haven't gone through many. I've gone through like 1.5 cycles of our early career program, but we have our annual interns versus executive softball game.
Oh, that
And
sounds like
so,
fun.
and so which even our CEO participates in. And so they have been doing this for some years, and there's a big trophy. And
Who
uh,
usually wins?
well, last year the interns won, so we have the trophy in my office area that we proudly display. And then, but I think it's kind of toggled back and forth. I don't know if there's a majority winner after the years, so we'll see tonight who wins. But yeah, they'll be doing that.
I love it. Good luck. Will you be playing?
No, no, I'll be cheering.
Okay. And my last question is an open question. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you'd like to add and share with our audience?
I don't think so. I think the kind of hot topic points we kind of discussed. One, no, generative AI is not going to take away your job. And so debunking that a bit, but you should be curious about it, leaning into it, thinking about how it can you can upskill yourself with it. Um, and then the second, I think, is really the point around skills in Walmart. Is We're actually in a coalition of companies, and we have kind of a skills summit that happens annually in the fall. Um, that so all these companies subscribing to the same taxonomy around certain functional areas, which then makes talent more transferable, even rather than just it being exclusive to Walmart. And again, I think it's really the work's amazing that's happened here. Like the skills inventory and the taxonomy work is significant, and across the largest employee population in the world. Again, just super impressed. It's a journey, but I'm very proud to be working on that. And I think it's generally something also we're trying to more and more think about how we pull through and get that incorporated into my spaces, so early career, different talent communities, military, who all have different valuable experiences potentially for Walmart, and how we can really take a skills first approach. And starting with, yeah, you don't necessarily need a degree to work here, but actually, and I'm also proud to be associated with, if you want one, we'll give you one for free. And so that's also amazing. So I think all that's really kind of a special, I would say, I'm of course I'm biased, but I'd say pretty like objectively kind of a special thing about Walmart and the company.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with our audience. I know that everyone's going to appreciate hearing it. The special and unique things about Walmart. Thanks again.
Thanks so much.